Welcome to Lesson 13. Be sure to refer to the PowerPoint presentation for more in-depth information on the subject and for energy exercises associated to it. This is the first lesson of the third cycle, the cycle of training, in which knights study to become masters. And it's about the cauldron and the chalice, which means it's about emotion. Emotion, passion, is the ammunition that we use to put pressure behind our magic. Knights of the Grail and Cauldron master the handling of this energy. Knights of the Grail and Cauldron handle emotional energy. This is a double-edged sword. It means on the one hand that they need to handle other people's energy without picking up that other person's emotion. They don't allow themselves to be incapacitated by the emotions around them. But at the same time, being a master of emotion means that Knights of Grail and Cauldron develop the ability to put emotional pressure behind their magic. They have the ability to stir up emotion and imprint their magic with it. Knights are not afraid to feel emotion. Warriors cry. Emotions must be processed. If you don't, this psychic pressure and stress accumulates, and you can later get stress-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder. Knights of the Grail and Cauldron know how to channel emotion to their advantage. Knights of the Grail and Cauldron develop the ability to swim the currents of energy around them, steering their course using their divination skills as their guide. They flow around obstacles, treating them as if they weren't really there at all. So the magical weapons of water are the Grail and the Cauldron. The Cauldron is an ancient symbol of the Celtic goddess Caradhran and the Celtic god Dia. To the Celts, the cauldron was an ancient symbol of rebirth, nurturing, and regeneration. Many ancient Celtic myths refer to the cauldron as a sort of cornucopia which contains whatever food a person desires and is never empty. The Dia's cauldron was called the Undry and was never empty of food. You may wonder why I would list an implement such as a cauldron or a chalice as a magical weapon. One important but overlooked property is simply you cannot function as a warrior unless you're properly fed. You'll notice that the quartermaster is a key position in this order because it relates to this very thing. Another reason is that the element of water is associated with divination. Anyone who has served in the military or in law enforcement will see the connection here. Military leaders and police officers can tell you how important the gathering of intelligence is. Divination is simply an extension, the cultivation of the awareness that we have been working on in classes since the beginning. This heightened awareness allows the Wiccan warrior to be ready to seize the opportunities to come and follow the path down which intuition leads them. So let's look at the aspect of rebirth here. The cauldron of rebirth is another theme in Celtic myth, as I've mentioned. The slain warrior cast into the cauldron and Bran the Blessed would come out again alive. It may have occurred to you that what you're doing to yourself through training is casting yourself into the cauldron to be reborn. You're reinventing yourself as a more powerful magical person. Performing magic is a creative process. Harold Rosenberg once said that whoever undertakes to create soon finds himself engaged in creating himself. Self-transformation and the transformation of others have constituted the radical interest of our century, whether in painting, psychiatry, or political action. Intuition is a very important thing to us. Wiccans should actively cultivate their intuitions and put them to use. My use of my intuitive talents in police work earned me the nickname of the Wizard. Yet there's nothing mysterious about it. You simply let yourself listen. You become more aware of the currents around you. This awareness leads you to comprehension, and you act on it. Divination seems to be the ability to foresee future events. It's probably more accurate to say that the various forms of divination actually show us tendencies and trends. Divination shows you what will most likely happen if you continue on the current course through life. Some of the variables involved are so strong and sizable that we cannot influence them. Yet many of the variables involved can be controlled by the warrior. Thus outcomes can be altered or modified. We have control over our fate. This links us back to rebirth, the other symbolism of the cauldron. Divination allows you to more effectively reinvent yourself. Warriors do not abandon themselves to fate. They use divination to help chart their course through life. Divination and intuition help the warrior plan for contingencies. Any form of divination is simply a tool to help you access the images and impressions forming in your mind. Psychic abilities vary from one person to the next. These tendencies naturally manifest in different ways in different people. The most common form is clairvoyance, visual impressions and images. Other people's psychic talents tend to manifest as clairaudience, which is auditory impressions, or even clairsentience, simply knowing without any psychic impressions being involved at all. Scrying is one very useful and ancient technique for clairvoyant people. What they typically would do is simply gaze into a dark bowl full of water. You can use your chalice for this if you like. As you begin to gaze in the water, shut down all random thoughts as you did in our earlier meditation exercises. Once your mind has become still, open up and let the impressions come to the surface of your conscious mind. Other focus points that may be used in this fashion are crystals or crystal balls, mirrors, the palm of your hand, or even the flames of a fire. Clairaudient people may meditate and listen for voices or sounds. They may meditate on the wind or the sound of waves. Clairsentient people may just close their eyes and let the impressions come. As you can tell from the examples that I've given regarding my own practice of divination, clairsentience is how it works for me. You must experiment with different systems until you identify the ones that work best for you. Once you identify a system that works for you, you will find that the more you use it, the easier it becomes. Tarot is another divination system which I prefer to use. There are many different available tarot decks for a person to use. A novice reader should seek out one of these decks which appeals or speaks to them. We all have a personal set of images and symbols that form the language of our subconscious. What tarot cards do is place images in front of us that help us identify the images in our subconscious. Therefore, it's a tool whose images most closely resemble the symbolic language of your mind. That's the deck which you should find easiest to use. So let's quickly talk about two more things. These are structures that you will find in our group Astral Temple Chiron Paladin. One is the Uranican. A Uranican is a Japanese divination hall, and this is a place in Chiron Paladin where the water and earth energy merge. It's a safe place for you to do dream divination, remote viewing, or other divination work. Another is the Kistin, which is a Gaelic word meaning kitchen. It's between fire and water, which is where you might expect it because that's where those energies merge. And it's a place to find inspiration in gardening, herbal work, and cooking. And the final one is the Ancestor Shrine, which is a place to commune with your ancestors. And I encourage you to try that. It's a very useful place to do work and find inspiration. So go out there and if you haven't already figured out some sort of divination tool that works for you, experiment with them and find one. Be prepared to use this system for an upcoming exercise. Go to the Uranican, discover your form of divination if you need some help in doing that. And even go out there and find a favorite recipe that relates to your ancestors because that will help link you to them and it will get you into the idea of that connection of food with the cauldron and grail. So go out there and be glorious.